Hey everyone, well, we're back at it again after a long hiatus. Some moving around, winter stuff. Sorry about the noise in the background. We got a train going here, so yeah, it's a great place. But, you know, work has to continue. So we're back working on the Subaru again. Yeah, this will be the second time that we've had to pull this engine out. This time the rings failed, so we're going to be pulling the engine out again and rebuilding it. So follow along, here we go, have some fun. Yay. So first order of business is get that coolant drained out, and let me tell you, this is not a very effective design, Subaru. What the hell. So I had to build my own little funnel there to kind of direct the coolant flow, because otherwise it was just going to make a giant mess. Get the fluid drained and then start disconnecting stuff. Thankfully Subaru, you know, for the most part made this pretty easy. Now, technically you don't need to take the alternator out, but it's a lot easier to get some of the accessories out of the way, because we have to take the air conditioning compressor off and set it off to the side. And always make sure your battery's disconnected. It's a smart idea. Organize your bolts. And label them. Alright, got the fans unhooked from the radiator. Now we just need to unplug them. The plugs are down here from the bottom. So we'll get those fans unplugged and then we'll pull the fan housings out. Okay, now with the fans out of the way, we can get to that tensioner right there. Loosen that. And I already loosened these two bolts, so the bracket was a little loose if you saw that wobbling. Like that. There we go. Second belt out. Alright, so now we need to get this AC compressor out. So we've loosened these two top bolts here. Okay, and then let's see if I can get the light on there for you. They snuck two bolts down underneath. You can't really see them in the video, but we're going to use an extension and feed right there. And then we have to take this bracket off, and there's a bolt right there that holds that bracket, and the whole assembly will come off, and we're going to grab this whole unit and we're going to tip it over here and set it in here, and so that we don't have to disconnect any of the AC system. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unplug these electrical components so that get them out of the way so I can get my extension in there. You just want to be really careful you don't damage any of these plugs. Now this harness right here stays on the engine, which is nice because Subaru made it so that the whole harness stays with the engine. You have this massive plug, so you undo this plug, tuck that out of the way, and there's a couple other plugs here for the O2 sensors that I've already disconnected. But that way the engine harness, the engine components stay with the engine. I mean, if you wanted to, you could pull the intake and everything off and pull the harness there at the same time, but for this just for pulling the engine out, you can leave it right on there. There we go. There's that bracket. Sorry that I'm doing this one-handed here. Just like that. I'm just gonna make sure that these hoses aren't getting too kinked. There we go. So now your first intuition is gonna be wanting to take this bracket off, but you wanna do that because this is your lift point right here. So you have your lift point right here, and right there. You can see that? Yeah, so those are your two lift points. So don't take this bracket off. All right, we're getting pretty close. So we just got O2 sensors, O2 sensors here, and we have fuel lines that we need to disconnect here, vacuum hose, and the heater hoses. You disconnect them right there. And then the fun part, we got to crawl underneath and get the exhaust. But then we'll be pretty close to getting ready to pull this. And reminder, anytime you're messing with fuel, always wear eye protection. That shit goes everywhere. Okay, got everything disconnected. We'll do one quick once over, make sure everything's disconnected. You got your ground strap disconnected, here hoses. I took the starter. The starter is just hanging down here. I zip tied it up because they're part of the bell housing bolts. And just do a quick once over to make sure everything's disconnected. We got our engine hoist brace hooked in. Now I left one of the top bolts in, or just before don't take your top bolts out until you have the engine hoist hooked up to the engine. And this back dog bone mount right here, sorry, bad lighting, you actually want to leave in place because that dog bone mount is actually holding the transmission up off of the bell housing, or excuse me, keeping the bell housing off of the cross member. So you want to keep that in place. That'll keep your transmission from falling down. And then we can just wiggle the engine up. So let's get the engine hoist hooked up. All right, And there we have it. Engine is out. So, whew, not bad. In 3 hours, not bad. And no power tools. I mean, well, short of my little impact. So, yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be, next episode, we're going to be tearing into this thing and finding out what's been knocking and bumping. So, hopefully we'll get down to the root of the problem. All right? Be sure to click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.